So for a B2B company and for SMBs, to break it down really simply, it's really about building products, services and solutions that your business customers want to buy. And what I found is a lot of time is not spent on talking to your customers, talking to your prospects, being in tune with your industry and professional associations so you know what is needed currently and what's needed moving forward. These are the kinds of listening activities, research activities that need to be done, which sometimes SMBs, a lot of organizations, but SMBs don't spend enough time on when they're trying to be putting together solutions that are really going to stand out and be compelling.
The following is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that helps you get the job, manage the job, and get credit.
Hey, this is Gordon Henry at Winning on Main Street, and this week you get to meet Michael Haynes. Michael's the author of Listen, Innovate, Grow, a guidebook for startups and SMEs to acquire and grow B2B customers, business-to-business customers. He's based in Australia, and he's worked with companies ranging from micro businesses to major companies like Kraft and Accenture. And again, he focuses on B2B growth, helping SMB founders as well as people in larger companies drive B2B sales. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Good to have you. So, why did you write the book, Listen, Innovate, Grow?
Great question. So the reason why I wrote this book is because I, from my work experience working with lots of SMBs, really recognizing how there were a lot of really great opportunities in the B2B space and the opportunities for SMBs to get into some of those larger organizations. However, I found a lot of SMBs, the leadership teams, their teams are very good at working in the business, but not so great working on the business and understanding the dynamics of what it takes to be able to get into that sector of the market.
Yeah, that's a great comment. I just want to peel that back before we go past it. When you talk about working on the business, not in the business, why don't you just explain what that means to people?
Yeah, so it's very important that as the leadership team that you're spending time working on the business. So what are the plans, making sure you have those strategies and plans in place, so you know exactly who you're going after, which industries, which business customers. How are you going to go about acquiring those business customers, retaining and growing those business customers? So really having a proactive plan in terms of the strategies, what projects, what initiatives, programs of work going to have going on in the business to make that happen. And often SMBs being so busy working, putting out fires, trying to get those transactions, not enough time is spent with that proactive thinking and planning and making those adjustments to those thinking and planning. So that's really what working on the business is all about. And that's something we need to be doing as SMBs on a very proactive, regular cadence in terms of that planning and that review of those and adjustments to those plans.
Yeah, so let's dive into that just a bit more. So it is kind of almost a truism that a small business person, they're so busy, booking jobs, fulfilling the jobs, getting paid for the jobs, following up on the jobs, managing their employees. There doesn't seem to be time in the day for, this kind of long-range planning idea. So how do you help them find the time to do that?
So great question. So it's really about making sure that they have built into their business operation that there's time that is scheduled to do that planning. So I'm planning, putting that into the business in terms of having a time to have an annual account plan where we're setting up what is a strategic plan for each year, making sure that there are quarterly reviews. And quite often I will work with clients and I will come in and we will do a quarterly, what I call review and reset sessions, where we're looking at where we're at in terms of what was achieved during the quarter, what did we learn, what adjustments do we have to make to the overarching plan, are there any implications in terms of what is going on in the business, and making those adjustments. So really building that cadence in and making sure that it's scheduled in, and not just at the senior management level, but appropriately across the organization. So that's being done across the likes of your marketing, operations, service and support, that these things are occurring as well.
Right. So you really want a small business to behave, I guess, in a lot of ways like a bigger business, and to think of it in the sense that they sit down, they plan ahead, and they say, what do I want to do over the next year, and have checkpoints along the way. What are some of the things as I if I'm a small business owner, I look ahead for the year, I say, I want to have the strategic plan. What goes into the strategic plan?
Great question. So what should go into the strategic plan? What are some of your key, what are your goals? So what are you looking to achieve? Making sure that you have clarity in terms of what are going to be those areas of focus in terms of what industries you're going to be focusing on, industries, what geographic markets, what customers you're going to be focusing on. So those current clients and customers that you currently have, what are the goals with respect to those? And then what are your objectives with regards to new clients and customers that you may want to be bringing on board? So making sure we have very much clarity on where we're going to be focusing, and then what are some of those key activities, initiatives that need to be done across the business in order to be attaining those goals and objectives.
This has been a fascinating conversation. We're going to just take a quick break to hear word from our sponsor, and we're going to be back with more from Michael Haynes of Listen, Innovate, and Grow in just 1 minute.
Looking for that next spark of inspiration to take your business to the next level? Thryv, the leading software for small business, presents Connect 21. The year's leading small business conference for entrepreneurs like yourself will feature some of today's most successful business leaders, industry pioneers, and software experts. Hear from a lineup of inspirational speakers including Ramon Ray, founder of SmartHustle.com and author of 4 books, including Celebrity CEO, and Jonathan Morris, Texas-based entrepreneur and host of the newest show from Magnolia Network, Self-Employed. You'll have the opportunity to participate in educational breakout sessions with small business experts and leading executives from Merrill Lynch, AudioEye, and others. So grab a cup of coffee and join us for this virtual interactive event on November 10th and 11th. This is the small business conference you won't want to miss. Register now at www.thryv.com/connect. That's THRYV.com/connect. Come to Connect. Leave inspired.
A lot of people hear words like strategic plan and they think, oh, that's like some 25-page piece of paper that I'm going to write and stick it on a shelf and I'll never look at it again. It's going to gather dust. So it's just a big waste of time. Tell us that's not true.
No, that is not true. Your strategic document should be fairly small. I don't think with any of my SMB clients, anything is over 10 pages in total. Any appendix, any project plan drafts at all, it's 10 pages in total. And again, it very much to your point, great point you mentioned, it has to be a live and working document. So in terms of putting the plan together, you need to be getting buy-in from your operational folks. They're the ones that are doing the execution, because anyone can write a strategy. We all can write a strategy based on the principles from the big business schools there, but it's about how do you put it into action. So it's about getting buy-in from a grassroots level, so you know what's feasible, what's possible, what are those constraints. And again, it's about having those regular review sessions, so you're actually seeing what have you done in the past quarter, what's been achieved, what are we doing ahead, what needs to be adjusted. And so again, it's about having those regular meetings and engagements, sharing those learnings, making sure it's being circulated across the teams and getting buy-in as well. So it's very much it's a document that is living, working, being used across the organization and not just being kept on the shelf of the MD's desk.
Just talking a little bit more, I guess, ground level about how you help B2B, again, small businesses. I was reading through your book and your materials, and you talk about some of the areas you specialize in. One of them you talk about is product market fit. We've all heard that phrase. So for a B2B company, what does product market fit mean?
So for a B2B company and for SMBs, to break it down really simply, it's really about building products, services and solutions that your business customers want to buy and that they're willing to pay for. So the starting point is really about having a clear understanding, of those, customers, of those markets, those customers you're going after, the decision makers involved. What exactly are they looking for in terms of a solution? And Gordon, you want to be thinking holistically across the organization's, what are they looking for? Not just in terms of the immediate features and benefits, those core features of them, but often there are other things that they're looking for in addition to that. I do a lot of work with service-based companies, and quite often when you're selling services in, IT services, legal services. I'm working with a law firm right now. There are often other services, other add-ons that they're looking for. Could be reporting, could be consulting. The leaders of those organizations may be looking for access. So it's about creating that right kind of solution. For example, I'm working with a law firm right now where we're going to be looking at providing some new services and some bundled offerings where they get time access to the experts within the law firm, but then also doing other things like, having industry event engagement events so that the leaders of the law firms can get access to other people within their industry. So it's really about understanding your customers' needs and then really developing the right kinds of products around and what they value, and then building those and structuring it and building it those appropriately. But it's really making sure it's aligned to your customer market needs. And what I found is a lot of time is not spent on talking to your customers, talking to your prospects, being in tune with your industry and professional associations so you know what is needed currently and what's needed moving forward. These are the kinds of listening activities, research activities that need to be done, with sometimes SMBs, a lot of organizations, but SMBs don't spend enough time on when they're trying to be putting together solutions that are really going to stand out and be compelling.
Do you find, well, what do you find are the mistakes that most SMBs are making? Is this issue of listening and really talking to the customer, is that a key one? Where do they fall short?
Yes, that's exactly it, that there's not enough time spending, talking to customers. And the best place to start is with your current clients and customers to find out where are they at currently, what are they looking to do moving forward, where are they having challenges. That is where you get a wealth of information as to what's going on, both within their company, within their markets, within their region. It's a great starting point. But yet it astounds me when I ask clients, I ask prospects, when's the last time you had a chat with a customer? Oh, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's a year. And we can't afford to do that now, particularly in this environment right now, where there is so much change, so much fluidity. Your potential clients and customers are changing what they're doing, who's running the show. So you really have to be, tuning in and having those discussions, be it online via Zoom, in person, and having those discussions. But those foundational discussions, those kind of strategic discussions of, understanding where they're at, their challenges, where they're going, documenting that, sharing that across your company, having meetings with your team to say, what does this mean? That is something that needs to happen. And that's often the starting point. I'm working with many of my SMB clients is to get that fundamental level of understanding, in-depth current understanding, because that is a catalyst that really gives you the focus on how to move forward and where you need to focus.
I wanted to ask you about use of technology in the business, specifically around the ideas of automation, marketing automation or CRM. Our parent company, Thryv, makes a CRM for small businesses. Of course, there are many products out there that do things of this nature. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are in terms of recommending automation tools to small businesses, because it seems like whereas big businesses made the leap into automation of like their communication with customers years ago, many small businesses have yet to do that. And here you are saying it's important to communicate with your customers, listen to your customers, and yet very often they have a hard time even getting a conversation going because they're so busy working on the projects.
So technology is very important, but technology is the enabler. I'm very big on making sure, first and foremost, that the businesses are doing what they need to be doing first. So my first thing is, for example, if you haven't been talking to customers, let's find out, who are your top, top 10 customers that are critical to your business. Let's get those meetings scheduled in. And then once we're starting to put those things in place, for example, such as those customer meetings, and in some cases, some of my clients do actually customer workshops. Okay, then what are some of the enabler mechanisms we need to be able to collect information, communicate? So yes, very much, I'm very big on using the appropriate tools, technology being an enabler. But my first point will be making sure they're doing the things that need to be done first, as opposed to just buying the tools. Because I've also seen in cases where I've had clients who have the CRM, but okay, well, not a lot's going into it. So, where have been those customer meetings and those engagements haven't been occurring, which are needed and necessary. So very big on that, but it's really about making sure they're doing the right things. And then what are the enablers and what are the appropriate enablers given where the organization's at, their their financial resources, etc., and then putting those into place.
Right. Because isn't it true that a lot of the small businesses don't necessarily even know who their customers are, or if they do know who the customers are, they maybe don't have names and email addresses and phone numbers, and they don't communicate on a regular enough basis to be able to kind of keep the communication going so there is a dialogue?
Um, I found in the SMB space and in the B2B, which is where I focus in, they know who their customers, they often know who their customers are. They know who their customers are, who the decision makers are, and when they've had conversations with them, that's where often things,
Hmm.
that's where they're often are some gaps or they're not up to date. And particularly how we are at this point in time where there's a lot of movement, people are leaving companies, people are, having the epiphany to go out on their own. They're often, their CRMs are not, they've got the CRMs, but they're not up to date because it's no longer Gordon that is in, that MD role or that, head of operations role. It's now Tim or Steve, and they're not up to date with who's current. So they know who their customers are, but who are the decision makers, who they need to be engaging with, that's where it often falls off.
Right, makes sense. Because when you go into business as a franchisee, which we didn't really talk about, the system's really there, right? That's what you're buying as a brand and the system as a franchise owner. And so I guess as an individual SMB, you want to be sort of creating those systems yourself, the brand, the system, so that when you sell the thing, it's kind of replicatable, right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And most of my work is, well, all of my work is with non-franchisees
Mm.
organizations. And in order to grow, growth automatically means there's going to be lots of change in the organization. And you are going to need more people. That's just kind of inherent. Even if you're not thinking about exiting, but you're looking to grow, at some point, we're going to be having those issues around, okay, you've identified how you're going to grow, but in terms of making it happen, what people are we going to be needing, what systems and processes, what capabilities. So there are going to need to be changes and additions, which fundamentally means there will need to be more people in the organization to take it to the next level. You have to invest to grow. And that inherently means investing in people and bringing on more people in whatever format. It might be contractors, what have you, but that's an inherent part of growing your business. It's a necessity.
Mm. What's your background, Michael? How did you get into the B2B small business space and end up writing this book?
Very good question. So I started off first really in corporate land. So my background was very much working in corporate, and I've worked across a range of industries, all very much service industries, a lot of work in financial services, telecommunications, done a bit of work in transportation, worked in management consulting, worked across a number of projects, always really like the business aspect of things. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My sister has her own law firm. My cousin and her husband, they have their own respective businesses. So working for myself is always something that's kind of been in the background, in the back of my mind. And eventually I came to a point of my career back in 2010 where I did enough of the big corporate, really enjoyed it. My last corporate role was in the B2B space. So that's where I really got into the world of B2B and found, oh, there's a lot that's quite interesting and involved here. Started working in consulting and really wanted to start helping small businesses succeed, because I'd seen some that, really great at what they do and lots of potential. And also recognizing, as being a business buyer, that the big companies, that they're saying no one gets fired for hiring IBM, those days are over and there are a lot of opportunities. And so when I set up my consulting business back in 2011, I thought I'm going to focus on B2B, but I'm going to focus on the SMEs, because no one seems to really look in terms of consulting, the books and resources there on how to succeed in B2B as an SME, where they need to apply the same kinds of principles, Gordon, but in a more relevant manner. So I, talk about talking to your customers with interviews and workshops as opposed to big surveys and segmentation studies. No one was really helping them how to adapt to do the right kinds of things appropriate to them. So that's really how I really kind of started off in the working in the SMB B2B space, and I've loved it ever since. It's been really rewarding to be working with different kinds of firms and seeing how they've been able to grow, being able to acquire those larger clients, assign those contracts and agreements, and seeing how the momentum breeds momentum and further spearhead their growth to take their business forward has been fantastic.
Great. And now that the book's out and you're working with clients, it sounds like all over the world, what's next for Michael Haynes? Where do you go from here?
For me, really still continuing to be working on working with clients, looking to launch a mastermind group, the Empower Mastermind Group. So bringing together SME, SMB CEO leaders to have them to have a forum, a bit of community where they can interact, engage with each other, because that's something that a lot of SMB leaders are really needing right now. It's not just the consultative one-on-one, but being able to brainstorm, collaborate, share ideas. So that's kind of one of my next big endeavors, is to be setting up some multiple SMB CEO mastermind groups to really start building that community and providing another forum for us folks in the SMB B2B space to meet, collect, and collaborate. That's my next big initiative now.
Fantastic. Sounds very exciting. So we're just about out of time. I want to make sure folks listening know how to reach out and get in touch with you if they are interested in being part of your mastermind group or taking advantage of your consulting services. So what's the best way for small business people or big business people to reach out and find you?
Sure. So first port of call is my website, listeninnovategrow.com. So there you've got articles, videos, outlining around the services, the consulting services, the mastermind groups. So that would really be the first place, because that's a repository for everything. Second place is connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I'm always open for dialogue, new connections, so you can reach out to me that way as well.
Great. Well, Michael, really appreciate you getting up early for us. I know it's big time difference over there in Australia. So thanks for getting up and dropping by the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been great talking to you.
Great talking to you. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell a friend or colleague to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, make it a great week.